Welcome to Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media on KMKR 99.9 FM and SoundCloud. And I am your host, Ron Austin. We are multimedia advocates for progressive activities in Tucson. We have a counterpart on Facebook, and it is of the same name but is shortened to SO/AZ Independent Justice Media. I will repeat that. SO/AZ Independent Justice Media. And our purpose on Facebook is to document in video, photos, and journalism the protests, marches, rallies, and other events put on by the left. The purpose of Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media on the radio station KMKR 99.9 FM and SoundCloud is to interview those that put on the events that are documented on the Facebook page, and also those other people that are activists in the community. If you have been sitting on the fence, or you have decided that you want to participate in social change, Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media on Facebook and KMKR 99.9 FM radio and SoundCloud is your go-to place to find out what group, nonprofit, or individual is doing so that you can figure out how you can participate. This broadcast is an interview with Sal Baldenegro, community member and activist. Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media is a program of Pan Left Productions, a 501c3. So Sal, what's your subject?
A couple things that I want to talk about. Maybe the most important thing that I'd like to talk about is just the really long and proud history of organizing in Tucson. And so I think that that's something that we should all be proud of, and that we should all know about some of the people and some of the issues that have gone on before us. And basically the history of organizing in Tucson is a very, very strong one, and that's something that interests me, and I feel like everyone should know about it, be proud about it. So that's what I'm going to talk about.
Okay, sounds good to me. I mean, advocacy is always a great thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so are you going to speak about particular groups or individuals or what?
Yeah, so I guess just a little bit about myself, which is that I was my mom and dad are activists in the community for a long time. So I was lucky in that I grew up conscious and learning about stuff from an early age. And
can I ask you what sort of advocacy your folks did?
Well, going back to the 60s and 70s, they were very active in the civil rights movement, in the Chicano movement, in the feminist movement, anti-Vietnam War movement. So yeah, they were active in all those things. And so it really in unionizing in the labor movement, the neighborhood empowerment movement, which is specific to El Rio, which is what happened in on the west side during the whole El Rio struggle, which is a great part of Tucson history. I don't have enough time to speak about here, but it's boiled down. It's a story of neighborhood empowerment and community rising up, and being united and being strong. And that was something that's a really great part of Tucson history. So in general, those are the things that I grew up around and learning about. So I feel very fortunate to have grown up that way and grown up with a consciousness that still informs me today, that still guides what I do and the way I see things today.
Mm-hmm. So as I understand, then because of your family, you've become an advocate yourself.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's everyone has their own path, and so it's kind of all the stuff that I was raised with and being aware of and conscious of. Then I took my own path into advocating for things that I believe in. I most recently, I think, is the organizing and participating in standing up to and resisting the anti-immigrant, I guess, policy and politics that have gone on. Most recently, I think, starting with SB 1070, certainly goes back longer than that, but in the recent history, SB 1070, and then also standing up to protect the teaching of ethnic studies in our schools, which is very important, and that was the bill HB 2281. This is kind of the more, I guess the two most recent things that have really inspired me to participate and get out, because even though on its face they're two separate different issues, they're also related, because it's just an extension of sort of the xenophobic and racist policies that we've seen nationwide, but then in Arizona in particular. And I feel as just a member of this community, I feel very proud that looking back to 2009, 2010, it seemed like we were just under attack so viciously. And it was difficult, man. It felt like we were fighting up against very, very powerful individuals, powerful politicians, and it felt like the tide was against us. But now, 9-10 years later, I feel like there's a different way to look at it, which is to say that I'm proud of how we've resisted. I'm proud of the strength and the resilience of this entire community to have resisted that and been so strong in the face of us getting hit from all sides. And I think that says a lot about who we are as a community to have resisted, and it showed our character and our strength that we're still here. All those characters that were such large figures back then and were against us, and I'm talking about Jan Brewer and Tom Horn and Hoopenthal, and there's Russell Pierce, Joe Arpaio. They're gone, but we're still here, right? So I'm proud of that. I look at it sort of from a bit of an optimistic lens, that I see how things were 10 years ago, and it felt like we were up against the world, man. It felt bad. But now, because of how strong we've been and how resilient we've been, I'm very proud of that we're still standing, and we're starting to turn the tide. Slowly but surely, we're fighting back, and I think that I still am optimistic that we will repeal SB 1070, we will repeal HB 2281. That to me is sort of unresolved business still.
And also sanctuary city stuff.
That's the most current thing that absolutely I think is the single most important issue in Tucson right now, is passing Proposition 205 and making history as Tucson, a ballot initiative passing to make Tucson a sanctuary city. And that's built, again, because Tucson has such a long history of advocacy and activism, that this would be the logical extension to just cement Tucson as one of the leaders in resisting Trump and resisting all this anti-immigrant, xenophobic things that are going on right now.
So you don't feel that can you say that?
Sure.
So you don't feel that because of the present administration, federal administration, the person at the highest level of office in that has produced enough so much fervor toward people of color that it was worse back there then than what it is now?
I think, well, when they talk about Make America Great Again, I think that's exactly what they're referring to, is that they want to bring this country back to the bad old days. Mm-hmm. So I think that because of so much struggle and so much blood, sweat, and tears, I think that our generation and the younger people now are in way better shape, or there's much more opportunities for us than there were back then. So I don't want to say that things are as bad, but I think that the right wing and the anti-immigrant people out there, and certainly Trump and whoever else, they want to bring it back to that, and I think that's where they want to bring the country back. So it's up to us to resist, and we can't let them. We can't let them do that. No way. Too many people have fought and struggled and bled and sweat and died and protested. That it's inconceivable. It's just not part of the conversation to let them bring us back to those days.
So you think that you can even make headway since you're in the middle of a red state?
Yeah, that's a funny thing, right? Because people like to sort of bash on Arizona, and sometimes with good reason, right? Especially the politicians in Phoenix give people a lot of ammunition to bash Arizona, and it's tough, because Phoenix itself is such a huge behemoth, right? That I don't know, close to 4 or 5 million, I believe, in the metro area, and there's around I think 1 million people here. So for us, as a progressive part of Arizona, which again, very proud of that. Man, it's hard, right, on a state level to stand up to that. But I think that's where the biggest challenge is. I think that if we were in a comfortable blue state and with progressive policies, that'd be great. First of all, that would be awesome. We'd be able to accomplish so many things. But I think character is built by having to struggle and fight. And so, this is our state. This is where I'm from. This is where generations of my family are from. My granddad was a copper miner in Hayden, Winkleman. He was a union organizer. My dad is family is from Arizona, from Barrio Hollywood here in Tucson. So what am I going to do? Am I going to run? Am I going to leave my home state just because there's a bunch of racists in Phoenix and other parts of the state too who want to take us to the battle days? No, I'm making my choice to take my stand here and to make our state a better place, and to not let the racists win, to defend our state. And even though it's challenging, because just like you said, it's super tough, but I think that's where character's built, and so I think that just makes us stronger.
So can you tell us, Sal, what sort of activities that you have participated in? As far as families or El Rio or whatever else other advocacy that you've done.
Yeah, so most recently I think was standing up and resisting SB 1070 and HB 2281. I think those are huge issues that still, like I said, are unresolved. Until we repeal those laws off the books, then those issues haven't been quite solved yet. But we're getting there. Little by little, we're chipping away, and that's why I say I'm proud of that. I guess locally, again, I'm a member of the El Rio Coalition too, and that's, again, I'm very proud of what this coalition has accomplished and still accomplishes. It's built on the shoulders of, again, the community empowerment movement that the El Rio Coalition started locally back in the 60s and 70s, and it's carrying on that same philosophy and those same principles to where the community should be have a say and be at the table with regards to decisions made in our own community, and not to let people make those decisions for us and to tell us what to do. That we organize and we unite and we make decisions as to the future of what our community should be like. And that's now it's getting to be anti-gentrification, which is a huge issue, and the El Rio Coalition is at the forefront of that. And so that's again, I'm just really proud of standing up and resisting gentrification, standing up for community empowerment. And so that's one thing that I'm involved in, that I've been involved in recently.
Well, since this interview will go internationally, can you tell us what the El Rio Coalition is and what they do and how they do it? There's people out there that don't know what it is. Okay.
It's basically a group comprised of people from all over Tucson. It started in the west side, but through the strength of organizing, which this coalition is so good at bringing folks together, that it's gotten people from all over Tucson to be united and to be a strong voice in standing up to gentrification, in standing up for community empowerment, which is what I said earlier. You could define as, we want to be at the table. It's saying that our community demands to be at the table with regards to decisions that are going to affect the future of future generations in our community. So that's that. I mean, at its core, that's what it is. It's a group of people and organizations, different neighborhood associations, different people with a lot of varying interests, all united as one, to stand for those principles. And again, when people are united, when there's so many, I guess, people as part of this organization, it's much stronger than if it was just a couple of people here and there, or even, it's a West Side, started as a West Side Tucson thing, but because this group has been so good at organizing, we've been able to create a strong block of very smart and talented people who are all on the same page, that, with regards to all the different neighborhoods and the different people around Tucson, there's, over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of development, a lot of rent hikes. Meanwhile, wages have stayed flat. People are hurting. They can't afford rent, or property taxes are getting out of control. And so it's just in the last 10, maybe longer, 20 years, it's been putting so much strain on so many residents and people. And when on our own, it feels like we're powerless. But when we get together and we organize, and you could even say unionize, man, we're so much stronger, a much stronger and amplified voice, standing up to gentrification, to development that doesn't have the interest of the community in mind, right? We feel that all development should benefit the community first. It shouldn't benefit the wealthy. It shouldn't benefit these corporations coming in, these out of town developers, and who are just making money. That's who we are standing up to, and not letting them dictate our policies, and not letting them dictate the future.
So El Rio Coalition, they do these activities through rallies, protests, meetings with the city fathers.
Yeah, it's kind of all the above. I mean, in 2013 there was a real big, there was a time when El Rio could have been on the chopping block. And what I mean by El Rio is it's a golf course. It's a beautiful green space that was fought long and hard for back in the 60s. And when there was no parks, there was no neighborhood centers. And so what was going to happen is this for-profit Grand Canyon, this Christian homophobic for-profit college wanted to come in and destroy this lush green space with hundreds of trees, and they were going to come in, destroy it, raise it, build their for-profit college with no regard to the community. And also they would have built retail shops and condos, and that's only part of it. The other part is that the city was basically giving it away for pennies on the dollar, and that was unacceptable, to have this huge urban green space to be given away for so cheap, with tax breaks galore, for pennies on the dollar for what the true worth is. And this company would have come in and stood to gain millions of dollars off of this deal. So the El Rio Coalition organized to fight back and resist that. So at that time, there were a lot of rallies and protests, and certainly organizing meetings. What eventually happened is that the El Rio Coalition was successful in shutting that deal down. And so it's kind of, things have been not as intense, but what the coalition does now is just keep the community, I guess, engaged and keep them informed. So we do different activities or different, I guess, social events every now and then to bring the community to El Rio, to let them be part of it, to know that, look, this is ours. This is yours and mine as a tax-paying community. these urban green spaces are so valuable, and we pay for them. They're ours. So we should all feel like they're ours and not feel like the city can just give them away for free to developers. So that's kind of what we've been doing now, is a lot of social events to bring people in and let them connect with our green space. And that's what we want to preserve it for the future, that if it's not going to be a golf course, then it should be a park for the community, for all the community to enjoy. But it should be a green space. It should be a community, a space with community value that people have fought for a long time, and it means a lot to the people of the West Side, and it's very, very important. And the research shows that cities and towns with urban green spaces are much healthier. They're much more vibrant. They contribute to the overall health of a community tenfold. And so that's the importance of the El Rio Coalition, to ensure that the future of that green space, that the community is at the table with what happens from here on out.
So Sal, do you have anything other than that going on right now as far as social change is concerned that you're participating in?
Yeah, getting back to the sanctuary city movement. That's something that I started to touch on, but I want to finish it. That, man, we have such a amazing opportunity right now to make history, to pass this Proposition 205, vote yes on 205, to make Tucson a sanctuary city, which would be historic. No other Tucson has done that from a ballot initiative, and that would be so amazing. It would just send a huge message. It would show that we are a leader in resisting the anti-immigrant and xenophobic policies that the Trump administration is putting down, and that Phoenix has put down. And again, it sort of counters the narrative that Arizona is a racist place, when Tucson can make history as the first ballot initiative to be a sanctuary city. And again, it's building on our long tradition of organizing. The modern day sanctuary movement started in Tucson in the 1980s, when a number of people organized to help immigrants from Central America that were fleeing violence and fleeing civil war and came to the U.S. as refugees. And man, they were going up against a lot of xenophobia then, and people wanted to kick them out and deport them, and the sanctuary movement said, no, we're providing sanctuary here. They went up against the laws of the day. They went to court. They did battle with the law enforcement, but it was a powerful movement that was started here. And passing Prop 205 to make Tucson a sanctuary city would just build on our legacy as Tucsonans and show that we welcome immigrants, we welcome refugees, and we are not going to give in to the anti-immigrant policies that many in Washington, D.C. and Phoenix want to put on us. That we see that immigrants are part of our community, they've been part of our community, and we want them to, again, to be loved, to be welcomed, because they belong. We're all one community, and we welcome immigrants, we welcome refugees, and that's the message that passing this proposition will tell the world.
Well, you got some pretty powerful people advocating for it right now.
Oh man, yeah, those guys are incredible. I can't say enough about them.
Especially the women have stepped forward.
You cannot say enough about the will of those women, the organizing abilities, the tact, the sheer will and desire to see this thing through, and the blood, sweat, and tears that they've put in to organize from day one as a grassroots organization. Man, they're part of history now, and when we look back, we're gonna look at we're just gonna continue to be amazed at what they've done. Their organizing is just incredible. You can't say enough about how amazing those women are.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Zyra and Marion and all the others. I'm actually, pretty proud of those ladies.
That's right. They're teaching us all a lesson. They're teaching us a lesson how to organize, and a whole city. And man, it's pretty powerful. It's really, really powerful. A lot of people tell them they can't do it, and it's just like water off a duck's back. They don't listen to the haters. They move forward, and it's inspiring for sure.
Well, Sal, I want to thank you for being on Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media radio show.
Thank you, Ron. Glad to be here.
This was an interview with Sal Baldenegro, community member and activist. As I mentioned prior to the interview with Sal, the purpose of Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media on the radio station KMKR 99.9 FM is to interview those that put on the events that are documented on the Facebook page of the same name, and also those other people that are activists in the community. You can find Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media on Facebook by searching for SO/AZ Independent Justice Media. I will repeat that. SO/AZ Independent Justice Media. The first thing that you see when the page loads is many announcements of rallies, protests, marches, and other events to be put on by various nonprofits, groups, and individuals which you can participate in. If you are on a computer and you go to the left column and click on video, you will see the many videos that we have produced of the events put on by activists in the community. If you are on your phone, you'll need to go near the top of your phone and click on video. At the present, I am one of 2 media people that document activists' events in Tucson on Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media's Facebook page. And the issue is that while we are documenting an event on one side of town, another one is going on undocumented on the other side of town. We need your help to provide full coverage of the many activists' events across the city of Tucson. If you are a videographer, photographer, or journalist, and you are a professional in these specialties, we need you. But you don't need to be a professional. If you can shoot a decent video, take a decent photo, or write up a decent story of the events, we need your help. If you are willing to help document activist events in Tucson, Arizona, and you are a professional or amateur, text in the subject line SAIJM for Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media, SAIJM. Write your name and specialty to 520-909-6913. 520-909-6913. And I will call or text you back and tell you how you can participate. And if you are initially reluctant to go to events by yourself, I will attend them with you until you feel comfortable attending them by yourself. Thank you for listening to Southern Arizona Independent Justice Media's podcast. I am Ron Austin, and I bid you goodbye until our next interview next week.